People, Deluded, good morning, I'm back again and I hope you're all doing well and safe and them things there this morning. From You Have Life, you've got everything, and it sounds cliche, but as long as you're breathing, your financial issues, your personal issues, they're of no relevance really and truly. And again, let's use common sense in that statement, but I'm happy you're all breathing, because I myself, I've been taking that for granted really. The fact that I've got my senses, the fact that I can breathe and whatnot. So it's about appreciating stuff. But moving forward, obviously I've got a couple things to speak about. We're not going to be here long and ramble on long. Let's start with Nketiah. Another day, another goal from Nketiah. He scored obviously in the defeat to Stoke in the Carabao Cup for Leeds United. Would like to see him start in the league more, but he's still integrating into the side, and I have no qualms with Bielek. He knows what he's doing, and I do think he will go out there and play people, and he'll have a good season. We know Eddie can score goals at youth level. He's scoring goals at this level as well now, and that's what he needs to do. Next season, the next question will be, can you either do it again in the Championship, or can you do it in the top league? Can you do it in the Bundesliga? Can you do it in the Premier League if you get that loan? Can you do it in France? If you come back to Arsenal and, God forbid, something happens to Lacazette and Aubameyang and you're seen as an option, can you fill them boots? We know Eddie can score goals, people. And he had it was a good goal, but it was to be honest, strikers have to take goals as they come anyhow. It wasn't a spectacular finish. I don't know what Jack Butland's doing for his team. He's taking a goal kick, he kicks it into his defender, it ricochets off his defender, falls to Eddie. Eddie pokes it through Butland's legs and then passes it into an empty goal. And like I said, it don't matter if it's a 30-yard screamer or what, you'll take any sort of goals. Eddie scored. He also had a fantastic chance. I think someone laid it on a plate and his legs just weren't big enough to get there. And if I remember correctly, first half he had a good he struck a ball very cleanly and he was unlucky to score. It was a good effort, people. So he potentially could have had some more goals in that game, but it is what it is for Eddie, man. You know how it is. If you need a goal, dial him. And let me try and, because I do think I came across the tweet, people, where I think Arsenal tweeted it, where it had Eddie's statistics so far. He's played 197 minutes and he's got 3 goals, so he was on target again, as seen, people. I'll review this later, but Arsenal's under-21s lost 4-3 to Northampton on penalties last night, people, because they still managed to get a point because of how the competition, the EFL trophy, is it the EFL trophy or is it the Treacle Trade? Either way, whatever competition we're in, people, I think it works as you get a point for a draw and you get a point for other stuff. It's kind of funny. Either way, we lost in it. The under-21s lost that. It's nice to see Emil's closer to getting fit. So Eddie's scoring goals. Emil and the under-21s are doing their thing. Tutu, I haven't seen the goal, but I've come across information that, well, you've all seen it on Twitter. He scored for Busham, his temporary home for the year, and it's been a testing period. We all know what happened to him in pre-season with the racism and all them things there, not by the fans of his current club, by idiots playing in a friendly. And it was nice for him to get his first goal for the club. Of course, he's a right back and he needs to put in encouraging defensive performances, and he's still having teething issues in being in the starting lineup week in, week out. But it's a fantastic moment as a professional footballer to score your first professional goal. He'll never forget that, people, and he's a right back, so I'll be inclined to believe he's not going to score too many in his career. So big up Tutu. And on the topic of Tutu, it's actually interesting because I've come across information today that his loan club, VFL Busham, have parted with their head coach, who's been in charge for 18 months. So he's going to have a new manager to impress. Starts again. Players that are out of favour are now going to be in favour. Players that were in favour are not going to have a leg to stand on, sort of thing. And this is something young players got to be able to adjust to. Sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are. If the manager that comes in doesn't rate you, he doesn't rate you. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Tutu. I'm just highlighting the managerial change, people. Managerial changes, better yet. Moving forward from that, I've spoken about already, but young Krystian Bielik has been called up to the Poland side, full international side, and it's good for him. He's just joined Derby. He's just still yet to showcase his best because he's just joined them and he's still integrating. But he had a fantastic period at Charlton last season, helping them get promoted. For me, probably the big push was how he's performed for Poland's under-21s at the European Championships earlier in the summer. Not just him, a couple of them. And if I was the Poland FA or whatever, Bielek and a couple of them, I'd be looking to fast track them, which I assume they have, people. He's been called up to the side, I assume, for September's friendlies. Just like that, people. Derby have made their 10 million back on Krystian Bielik. They were going to make it back already, but the fact that he's been capped, well, he's been called up to the Poland side. If he is capped, instant £10 million player again, people. So Derby will be laughing. They obviously have to give us a percentage, but they've made their money. And I'm not saying they're going to sell him tomorrow. I'm just saying they've made their money back. So it's been fantastic from them, from that sort of basis. What else is there? This isn't really relevant, but I think Joe Willock should keep his place against Spurs. I know many people would have taken him out of the side, myself included, potentially I would have taken him out against Liverpool. And I think him and Pepe are the first names for me on the team sheet beyond the obvious. Pepe, Torreira, Willock, Leno, probably the ones that pick themselves, excluding the obvious other ones, people like Maitland-Niles, who's going to have to play at right back. I think what I like about Joe is, I've said it before, I think so far, obviously if he's suffering from burnout, loss of form, all of these things, he should come out the side, innit, because we've got to look after him. I feel what Joe has shown me is that he's not playing. I don't think he's playing amazing like he's bossing games, but he's holding his own, people. I've got confidence in him to go out there and return a consistent job. 10 games, I don't know what I'm going to get from him, but from the 3 games he's shown me so far, he's getting closer. Do you get it, people? To showing me what I can get from 10 games, and he might not play 10 games in a row here. He might take a break, but he's played 3 already and he's done quite well. So there's another 7. Obviously, that gives you more confidence. And what I've seen from him so far, he's not giving me a reason to drop him. He's not playing amazing. He's not playing like Patrick Vieira or anything like that. But he's definitely not playing poor. And you need man like that. Not everybody needs to be a maverick player or stuff like that. Some players need to be good complementary options as first team regulars, rotation options, squad players, whatever you want to call it. Some people just have to be able to hold their own, man. To be honest, Joe Willock so far, Lucas Torreira within reason and without going into the others, they're the only midfielders I really have confidence in, that I can put my hand on my heart and say 9 times out of 10 you're going to give me a certain sort of performance, because there's players there in our side with fantastic balling ability, but you don't know what you're getting game from game. So I think Joe should play, man. I feel if you didn't know anything about football, you didn't know Joe Willock's name, his age or whatever, and you just watched them games he's played this season, he hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't looked out of place. You'd have to go on Wikipedia or whatever and see that this is Joe Willock, 20 years of age, well, formerly just turned 20 years of age, people. Just turned 20, barely, probably just about 20 or just over 20 appearances for Arsenal now. If that, you would have to go and look for them things. And I feel he's cut his teeth, people. He's shown he can do this thing, man. And I'm keen to see him develop, whether it's as a 10 or I personally prefer him in that pivot. I prefer him in either one, but I personally prefer him in that pivot role, people. The sort of, where you're just assuming because Xhaka's playing where he's next to Xhaka or him and Torreira or something like that. I really think Willock is very mature in that regards, people. And it was also off topic. It was also nice to see Jack Wilshere against Newport get man of the match for West Ham. Hopefully he can have an injury-free season and can stay fit and play himself potentially into Southgate's Euro thinking, because I know that's what he wants. Moving on, sadly, we'll get on to Bury, but Bolton, who were relegated in 2012, have been given 14 days to find a buyer who'll prove they has funds to complete the season, or they will face expulsion from the English Football League, similar to Bury. Now, Bolton and Bury have been a long lasting sort of thing. You've seen it, people. It'll be sad. I don't want to comment too far, but it'd be sad if Bolton were to keep slipping as they have been from 2012 on a downward slope and cease to exist anymore, people. We've seen it happen, people. Hopefully it doesn't happen, because I'm not going to lie, I don't particularly care for Bolton or Bury, but as football fans, we all look forward to watching our clubs on Sundays and Saturdays regardless of the team. So there's young Bolton kids, Bolton fans out there and Bury fans out there. Of course, they'll probably support another team as well as them, but the prospect of them not being able to see their team in a couple of years, or the point that they're slipping and all of the stuff that's happening, is upsetting. Obviously, when you hear these things, players haven't been paid, all of these, I'm not necessarily Bolton, I'm talking about both now. Players aren't typically paid, this uncertainty over a lot of people's futures, but many people forget about the tea ladies, the match day staffs, the scouts, the part-time scouts that only get paid their petrol. the tea ladies, like I've already said, and the general admin people. These are people that keep the football ground going. These are people that make the match days. Yes, the players are the ones that play, and fans are the ones that pay their tickets. But without the catering staff, without all the other positions I've just named, the football club won't be in heartbeat. And I can guarantee you, similar to Bolton, there's probably been a tea lady there that all the first team players know by first name. She's probably been there long enough than they've been alive, and she's going to lose her role. I'm not saying that's the case at Bolton, but that's typically the case of a lot of football teams. Now, these things happen not just in football but in life. Companies go bust. Companies are not making profits. They have to downsize. They'll give you a P45 and tell you it's not personal, it's just business. That's happened to me twice in my young 24 years of age, people already. So I know how it feels. And it's a costly one as well, man, because how they find other roles, I hope they will do it, but it is tough trying to find another job and all of these things, people. Bolton were relegated from the Premier League in 2012. As you lot saw, they entered administration in May after being relegated from the Championship. There was a deal agreed to take them on, but it hasn't worked. Apparently their manager Phil Parkinson resigned on Thursday after 3 years with the club. We also seen they've been playing young players as well. We've also seen the EFL have reduced the numbers of teams in the league to 23 after Bury's expulsion. They're actually scheduled to play each other, forgive me if I'm wrong, people, or something like that. Now, if we look at Bury now, who have actually been expelled by the by the Football League after the takeover collapsed, people. And you're wondering, potentially, I don't feel it's their mandate, but you're potentially, could United, City, potentially Liverpool, Everton, teams that are quite Huddersfield even, teams that are not necessarily far, could they potentially help Bury? Personally, I think it would be a good gesture and it will keep football teams alive, but I don't necessarily feel they're under any obligation to do that, because if it was them, would people help them? And at the end of the day, Bury and Bolton are here because of bad decisions. They're not here from an accident. Again, I'm not clued up on both matters to give informed opinions, but I guarantee you, those that are familiar, you can pinpoint an individual, a group, or a collection of bad decisions that led them to this point. Nobody gets from Premier League in 2012 to in 2019, in 7 years, on the brink of expulsion from the Football League in Bolton's case. Well, Bolton but it can happen to Bolton, and it's already happened to Bury. You get the point, people. So Bury aren't here by accident, people. They're here because of several bad decisions. Again, it's sad, people. Seeing League One will be comprised of 23 teams, and it's Bury now the first team to drop out of the EFL since Maidstone's liquidation in 1992. So it is a dark day in the Football League's history. It is a dark day in any Bury supporters' history. It is quite upsetting. Like, nobody wants to be in this position. And the article I'm reading, it actually says the EFL had suspended each of Bury's first 6 games this season. So they were clearly docked points and whatnot. And like I said, people are going to lose jobs. Young academy players are going to lose academy positions, and not all of them are going to be able to go to nearby clubs and whatnot. I guarantee Bury, when you look at probably the under 8s to under 13s and whatnot, a couple of them will get picked up by the Huddersfield, the Uniteds, the Liverpools. But what about the potential under 16 that was going to get a scholarship? To get it, he might not get that scholarship elsewhere, and he might have to pack up football unless he can try and do a thing elsewhere. Do you get it, people? It's very cutthroat. So it's sad to hear about Bury and Bolton, but it is what it is. This is a part of life. On that note, I'm going to keep it moving. People, thank you for watching and rocking as usual. Deluded, thank you, man. We've spoken about Bury and Bolton, and I've given what I can provide an opinion on. We've spoken about Eddie and Nketiah. We've touched on Bielek. We've touched on a couple other things as well. So, yeah, man. Hopefully, with us approaching the end of the month, we're on the 28th of August at the time of making this vid. It's completely irrelevant to this, but I'd like to see Emil Smith-Rowe go out on loan. If he is to go out on loan, I'd love to see Elneny, Mustafi, their futures resolved in regards to playing for Arsenal Football Club. And I'd like Monreal to stay for depth purposes, but if he doesn't want to stay here, then let him go. So I'd like to see Arsenal get a move on in regards to them three, sorting out them three players' departures. On that note, though, people, thank you for watching and rocking as usual. I'm out. DG.